Yes, can you hear me? Let's just see 1 second. If you're on YouTube watching, please let us know so we can know that it's working. You can write something in the comments. Just give us 1 second. We're going to put it back on Facebook. Okay, we see you there. We'll be starting momentarily. Okay, we're going to get started. As we usually do, we start with a psalm, that God send a speedy recovery to this world. We'll start with Psalm 20. Lam natseach mizbar leDavidyan, chadi nebim tzari, sagev Hashem liYaakov, yish achetzacham mikedesh, mitzin yitzadeka, yizkar kamechesach ve'elos chaydash netzela, yitlachach v'vecha v'chalatzas chayimale, nenanen abishuasacham Shem Eloheinu nidgel yimale, adine kam lishalitzach, hati yadayit yish, adine meshicha, yane meshmikhache, v'gvuris yeshem yinai, levarecha v'yei levasusim v'anachnu m'shem, adine leinu naskir, hey, makaru v'nafalo v'anachnu kamen v'nisaydad, Today, being that we're now in the Torah reading of double Torah reading, Achrei Mos and Kedoshim, so we will now have a little discussion on this week's Torah reading. Give me 1 second, I'm getting a little feedback here. It's getting a delay. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. I was hearing myself. Okay. So, this week's Torah reading tells us about Parshas Kedoshim. There's a story told about Rabbi Yitzchak of Barditchev. It was well known that the Hasidic masters, in the beginning of the Hasidic teachings, they were being harassed and chased by many of the opponents of Hasidim, to the extent that they were not allowed in certain cases to be able to pray in certain synagogues because of that as well. And there was a situation that Rabbi Lev Yitzchak of Barditchev, where he was the rabbi in a certain city called Rechwol in Poland, and many of the people there were not that great excited about him being there, and they used to harass him and make his life really miserable, to the extent that one time in the middle of the holiday of Sukkot, he was chased out of the synagogue. And the Hasidim, who were his followers, felt that he should do something about this and stand up against the great opposition that he was facing. And because of that, they went to a rabbi by the name of Reb Zev Wolf of Zhitomir, a student of the Baal Shem Tov, a very well-known miracle worker, and they asked him that if on the behalf of Rabbi Lev Yitzchak of Barditchev, he can pray that these people who were harassing Rabbi Lev Yitzchak of Barditchev, they should dissipate in some way, shape, or form. And Reb Zev Wolf came back to these Hasidim, and he told them, by the time I get to my siddur to pray for Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, he's already praying for those people that they should be healed and they should be okay, and that no punishment should come to them because of him. One of the things that we find in Judaism as something which is a rule equated for every single person, no matter how great or how small you may be, is the commandment to love every Jew. And as the commandment to love every Jew, we are told that every single person, no matter who you are and whatever way you may be, and we have an obligation to love every single person. So what then? How does the Torah tell us? And how is it possible for us to love every single Jew? There are many people who we think have wronged us or have done something in our life. In fact, it's so extent that we have to love every Jew that the Torah even tells us, and it's brought in the Siddur, in the prayer book, that every single morning we begin our prayers with saying, Hareini mekabil alai mitzvah say, I accept upon myself to love every Jew like himself. How then is it possible that we can command the person to love every Jew like himself? Seemingly, you cannot teach a person to love. You cannot teach a person to experience or to love something that he doesn't like. If somebody doesn't like peanut butter, to tell him from now on you have to like it. How can you tell him to like it? So if we look at the beginning of this week's Torah reading, which is called Parshas Kedoshim, the second one of the Torah readings, the Parsha of Holiness, we find something unique in the way the Torah reading was told to the Jewish people. When the Torah was told to the Jewish people, every single part of the Torah, we find that God tells the words to Moses, and then Moses goes on and to teach it to the Jewish people. In fact, the Talmud explains that when Moshe taught the Jewish people the Torah, it went in a 4-step process. It wasn't that he put it on Zoom and everybody was able to contribute and listen in, but in fact, he first told it to Aaron, and then he learned it again with Aaron and sat on the left of Moshe, Then Aaron's children would come in and Moshe would repeat it again. Then Elazar would go to the right, Itamar would go to the left, and then the elders would come in and would repeat it again. The elders would then sit on both sides of Moses, and then again Moses would repeat the Torah. So the Torah was read or was told to was repeated 4 times before the actual Jews heard it themselves. This way they would be able to teach it to the masses, and everybody would have its accuracy, knowing exactly what the Torah was teaching and telling the people at all times. However, when it comes to the Torah reading of Kedoshim, the Torah tells us over here that Moses spoke to the entire Jewish people at the first time. It wasn't that he went through 4 periods, 4 stages of transmission, like all the other parts of the Torah. This time, the Torah was told specifically to each and every Jew at the same exact time. Why is it that the Torah was told to all Jews at the time, not like the rest of the Torah that was told in stages, like the 4 times? So what does it say in the Torah reading of Kedoshim? How does it begin? And the Torah begins by telling us, Kedoshim to you, that God tells every single Jew they should be holy. Why should they be holy? Ki kadosh ani, because I am holy. What does it mean that I am holy? What does it mean to be holy? What does it mean that a Jew should be holy? What is God requesting of the Jewish people? And to be holy, the word for holiness in Hebrew is kadosh. In fact, I'm sure you know when you marry a woman in Hebrew, it's also called kadosh, making holy. But what does it mean to be holy? To be holy means to be different, to be segregated, to be separate. That a Jew has to realize that the world and the Jew are 2 different entities. That the world has to be separate from who the Jew is. What does this mean? So here's a short story that explains this concept a little better. There was once a chassid, his name was Rabbi Ginsburg, a very wealthy Jew in the Russian town of Lubavitch. And he once came to the 4th Chabad Rebbe, the Rebbe Marash, Rabbi Shmuel, and complained about the fact that because he's so busy in his business, he doesn't have time to study Torah. And all he does he barely has time to daven with the minyan. And the Rebbe Marash looked at him and said, Rebbe Abba, is this a way to thank God that all you do is daven with the minyan and you're satisfied with that? Rebbe Abba walked out, bemoaning his situation. What should he do now? How does he go about it? And he came back into the Rebbe Marash in the 4th Chabad Rebbe and he said, Rebbe, I want to give up my business. I want to commit myself only to a life of study of Torah. I don't longer want to be working. And over here, the Rebbe Marash looked at him and said, why would you give up your business? If God made you successful in what you do, you have to keep on doing it. But then he looked at the Rebbe Marash, he says, but I don't understand. You just told me it's not good enough to daven only with a minyan. I want to commit myself to study of Torah. And over here, the Rebbe Marash explained and said as follows. What does it mean, integration, being holy? Is that even when you're in your business, to have with you a holy book, study Torah, do mitzvahs, keep yourself busy while you're doing the business. That means when you have a free moment, open up a sefer and start learning. When you're in business and you meet many different types of people, talk to them about Judaism. Talk to them about different concepts that exist. Do your business honestly. Show them true integrity. This is how you can be a Jew within the business world. Be holy within a world of materialism. Take, for example, Joseph. Joseph, the son of Jacob, who lived in the land of Egypt. He was the viceroy of Egypt. He was the one that was in charge of all of Egypt, but he still kept true to his Torah, Judaism values. How did he do that? The Torah tells us that was through one of the things we find that when they ate lunch together, it said Joseph had his meal while the Egyptians ate on their own. Why was it? Because it says that the Egyptians would eat, the Egyptians considered a lamb as their sacrifice, while Joseph ate lamb. And therefore he set separate tables, and therefore they ate on their own and he ate on his own. But the Rebbe tells us something deeper here. Joseph, throughout his life in Egypt, realized that I cannot be integrated and assimilate myself within the interactions of the Egyptians. I need to set a red line of where I am different than the Egyptians. And therefore he said, I ate differently and they ate differently. Realizing and telling himself every single moment that how he has to be wholly segregated and different. Over here, what the Torah is telling us, that a Jew's life, by definition, that we are a kingdom of princes. We live a different life. Our life means that we are holy, we are segregated, we are uplifted, we are different. Our job is to uplift the spiritual, to uplift the physical and make it spiritual. And that's why when we look into the Torah reading of Kedoshim, what is Moshe telling every single Jew? He didn't go through stages telling first the elders, then Aaron. But he told all the Jews at once, because one shouldn't think holiness, that's for the rabbi, that's for the synagogue, that's for the elders, that's for the prophets. Every single Jew has an obligation to be holy. Every single Jew can do what it means to be holy. What does it mean to be holy? So you would think when you open up the Torah reading of Kedoshim, it's going to tell us all these spiritual ingredients of becoming holy. But what does the Torah tell us? Simple things. Simple laws of ethics. Don't curse another person. Don't speak gossip. Love your fellow as yourself. Don't take revenge. Very simple, intrinsic things, but making us unique individuals and saying, yes, even though when somebody did wrong me, the first thing in my mind and heart should be that I should hate them. I should do something against them and revenge. The Torah says, don't do that because you're holy. You may ask, how is that possible? It's only human. If somebody wrongs me, I want to get them back. I want to take revenge. And over here is what the Torah tells us, and this is the answer of how we can mitigate this type of behavior, and not only that, mitigate it, but actually improve on how we have to behave. When the Torah tells us to accept upon yourself to love your fellow as yourself, the Torah is not telling us to have a feeling of love, but action. Treat that person the way you would want to be treated. The moment you have the action, you have the ability to transform what you do. Not only to transform what you do and the way you behave, but also to what you say to another person and to how you think about another person. Once you have that ability to not only change the action of what you're going to do, that would already mitigate your response to that individual, and number two, help you in loving that person. But even more so, everything we find in life, we experience in life, is because we train ourselves to experience in that way. The Talmud tells us of a story, an interesting story, in fact, about a great scholar by the name of Rabbi. Rabbi didn't have a rosy relationship with his wife, or I should say his wife didn't have one with him. His wife was a little tough on him, to the extent the Talmud tells us that she would make him big pain and troubles regardless of what happened. And to the extent that it was even public knowledge. But Rabbi at all times would always see something new, a window shopping, and he would find something, a nice thing, he would buy it and give it to his wife. Every time he would see something, he would always, in fact, the Talmud uses, he would wrap it in his handkerchief, put it aside to bring to his wife as a gift. And his parents asked him, his father, who was a great scholar in his own right, Rav, asked him, Rabbi, how do you do that? Why do you continue buying your wife gifts if she makes your life such misery? You are this kind and gentle individual. How do you do that? And Rabbi says, well, though she may make my life a misery, but she is still the the mother of my children, and she still takes care of my home, and for that I am ever grateful. What did Rabbi see? Rabbi, what he did was he planted within himself an idea, and he said, listen here, yes, this person may be miserable to me, but he saw a positive light that he was able to exacerbate, magnify, and he was then able to capitalize on that idea and see the love and to be able to find a way to love the person regardless of what happened. They say a story about it. Once this couple that came to the rabbi, that the husband was a drunk, and he would come home every single night, and his wife would yell at him, why'd you get drunk? He would get angry at his wife, and they would beat each, and he would beat her, and the place was miserable. Until finally they came to the rabbi and said, what to do? So the rabbi asked the husband to go out of the room for a moment, and he tells the wife, he says, every day when your husband comes home drunk, don't look at him for a half hour. Go away for a half hour. So she said, okay. He came home drunk the first night. She didn't look at him for the first half hour. After half hour, she was going to come and tell him all of her complaints. She saw he was sleeping. So he was sleeping. She went to sleep. No arguments. Time passed again. Every night the same thing would happen. The first half hour he was out sleeping and he was waiting for the fight. She wasn't there to have the fight, so he fell asleep. And after a while, it got quiet in the house. There was no more fighting. There was no more beating. He said, wow, my wife doesn't get angry at me so much. And he stopped drinking, and eventually everybody made a peace. What we see over here is the concept is that at times it's more important for us to be quiet. At times it's not, it's the reaction that we give to somebody's offense that creates the animosity, and at the same time that can propel us to be able to get along with one another. This is what we know, and this is what the Torah tells us. Kedoshim to you, we have to be holy. How do we be holy? To train ourselves, to look better at another person, to understand the person better, and at times it may take to be quiet and to swallow and to bite our lip. And at times it may say to even say a good word to somebody who had wronged us, because we are holy, we step above, we are separate from the world. We are able to reach a level that maybe on our own we wouldn't be able to, but because God gave us this holiness. And Moses tells us it's to every single one of us. There's nobody excluded. The entire Jewish people have the power to be holy. We can be holy. We have the power. It is in our ability to be able to do that. Just want to conclude one short story which underlines it. There's a story told about Rabbi Klein, who was a secretary of the Lubavitcher Rebbe for many years, Rabbi Klein of blessed memory. And when he first took the job, he was a young guy, very young fellow, and Rabbi Charikov, who was the Rebbe's chief of staff, called him in and said, listen here, you're going to get this job, and a lot of things are very private. To tell you not to not look at it, I can't tell you because you're going to have to look at it. To tell you that you wouldn't hear about certain things that are private, you're going to have to hear about things that are private because that's going to be part of your job. I can't tell you not to hear it. But what I could tell you is not to talk about it. That is in your control. We have the power to control the things we say and the things we do. That we could control. And if we only control those and act in a holy way, in a friendly way to the people who maybe even if they wronged us, but we're careful in the words we say, this world will be a lot better than we started with. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget tonight at 8 p.m. we have Positively Biased, and that's at jewishally.com/virtual. Just click the link and you will connect to the Zoom class that we will have for the class tonight at 8 p.m. Looking forward to seeing you there. Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow at 1 p.m. lunch break with the Rabbi. Have a great day.